Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Today in Manufacturing podcast. With me today are Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells. We're the editors of Manufacturing.net, an industrial equipment news, and we each have more than 20 years of experience covering the manufacturing industry. Every week, we take the 5 biggest stories on our websites and discuss the implications they have on the industry going forward. But before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, Anna, or David at IEN.com with email the podcast in the subject line. We're also live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Every Thursday at 2 p.m. So subscribe to us on YouTube at IEN Magazine so you can get a notification whenever we go live. Jeff, how you doing this week?
Pretty good, man. What yourself?
I'm doing great. Feeling good. Anna?
Yeah, feeling good. It feels like fall, which I thought I was up for, but then it dropped 25 degrees, and I was like, wait, whoa.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Mm-hmm. Suddenly to the soup weather.
Too sudden.
It might go back. I think that's what we hold on to at this point. Is that like, well, we might get that one more hot week, right? Mm-hmm. It's not over.
Fake summer part 2. Yeah.
Yeah. My son this morning said, "Is it going to snow?" And I just sort of hung my head and said, "Yes, eventually it will snow."
It always does. My son.
All right. Well, before we get into our first story this week, we have a word from our new sponsor, Armanino. This episode is brought to you by Armanino. Does your organization have a plan to manage today's and tomorrow's supply challenges caused by recent tariffs? Well, this new guide from Armanino, quote, Conquer Tariffs with Confidence, a guide for business leaders. This explains the current tariff environment, addresses common misconceptions, and offers strategies to mitigate risk in uncertain economic times. Download it right now. Our first story this week. Cyber incident severely disrupts Jaguar Land Rover production. Jaguar Land Rover is the latest victim of a cyber attack that has, quote, severely disrupted production. The British car maker, which officially rebranded as JLR about 2 years ago, said it, quote, took immediate action to mitigate its impact by proactively shutting down its systems. The company says it is trying to restart its global applications in a controlled manner. JLR says it has no evidence that customer data has been compromised, but the incident also hit the company's retail business. Analysts say that Jaguar did the right thing by shutting down its IT system before the attack spread further, but this wasn't the first attack on JLR, or this year. The Hellcat ransomware group targeted JLR in March 2025, just a few months ago, compromising project management software to steal sensitive data. This latest attack is likely a ransomware attack or some other significant system compromise. This incident serves as a reminder for companies to not only secure their business operations, but also secure that customer data. Jeff, at least 2 attacks on JLR just this year. I mean, is this like every other burglary? You know, once they know a way in, I mean, they're way more likely to try it again.
Well, what's even more scary is they may never have left.
Okay.
I mean, that's a big issue right now with a lot of industrial control systems and even a lot of IT systems are these what they call live off the land or dwelling attacks, where you think the bad guys are out, they're just hiding. They're still there. And that's one of the big concerns here with what happened after the hack. We've had some of these hackers actually going online with Telegram, a UK-based social media platform, and bragging about this hack and talking and posting pictures of some of the documents and information that they obtained. According to BBC, they think it's actually a group that goes by the name Scattered Lapsus Hunters to reflect the merging of various youth-oriented cyber criminals, all associated with a network called the COM.
The COM.
Yes. The COM. And actually, I mean, it sounds like the plot out of a movie, but this is serious stuff here. I mean, when you look at one of the names that they or one of the groups that they borrowed their name from being Scattered Spider, that's a group we just talked about not too long ago with the Clorox hack. Yeah. They've been involved in a lot of other stuff. When you peel the onion a little bit more, Scattered Spider actually has former members, they think, from groups like Black Cat. You mentioned Hellcat, Royal is another one. These are all groups that specifically have ties to industrial hacks or manufacturing companies. So this just should open a lot of eyes to a lot of different things that are going on with industrial cybersecurity right now. Number one, much like that Die Hard movie we were just talking about, they're operating in a way that makes it very difficult to find any one individual or trace it back to anybody to really hold them accountable. There's sort of these cells, if you will, operating independently, but also collectively on these bigger hacks to infiltrate and potentially stay hidden. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of scary that way as well. It's also interesting when you look at how bold these folks are in terms of posting this information. They're also, unlike a lot of stuff that we see right now attacking the ICS, they're really in it for the money. They are in it for the ransom. So even though Jaguar reacted very quickly and probably prevented a lot of worse stuff from happening, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because if they did make any ransomware payment now or anywhere down the line, they will have to divulge that in any type of reporting to the SEC. So we'll see kind of what continues to evolve and what comes out of this hack. I think it also illustrates just this changing face. It's no longer these sort of people sitting in a basement again doing stuff. These are very highly organized, very talented, very intelligent individuals who are going after folks. Again, these live off the land, these dwelling attacks are scary. And we covered a lot of this stuff. And what also gets me, and we talked about this a lot in the write-up, is this was going after the supply chain as well. It really it started in one area, and they were able to worm their way into other areas of the enterprise in terms of getting in through maybe inventory management. Mm-hmm. And from there, they got into production, they got into retail distribution. That's also frightening. Yeah. And the fact that they were able to pull the plug hopefully prevented these guys from getting into some of their supply chain partners' networks and doing damage there as well.
No, that was this was one of those articles that I was working on where every time there was a new piece of information, it uncovered an entirely new part of the plot, so to speak. And one of the big parts is just how much this information is stolen to make other operations vulnerable for other phishing schemes. You had mentioned that group. One of the hackers likely involved, who goes by the name Ray, according to the Financial Times, said that posted a screenshot of this internal JLR data just with the post, quote, "Gang, this is so easy." And they were kind of like joking about it, saying like, "Hey, where's my Land Rover?" It was I don't know. It's weird that, we're talking about, a major automaker here being kind of knocked down by people that, as you had mentioned, we talked about how this is similar to the different factions in the near Academy Award winning Live Free or Die Hard. But I think sometimes that we need to make those comparisons to movies and shows just because that is the closest thing we have to an understanding to what's actually going on and how these networks work, and to make it digestible, right?
Yeah, the other thing that I just want to make sure to mention is there are solutions, okay? Yeah. They're out there, and I'm not saying Jaguar didn't do these things, but that's why when we have these conversations about segmenting your networks and putting up more firewalls, and we were talking about dual-factor authentication, these things slow us down a little bit in this age of more connectivity, and we want data readily available and exchange it between different areas. This is why sometimes we have to pump the brakes on that a little bit and put up some of these security checks to make sure if they do get in through one route, they're shut down. Yeah. They can't worm their way into other stuff.
Well, and also just the pressures, not just getting infiltrating other parts of the supply chain, but just getting pressure from all different parts of the supply chain. Kind of like you said, that when you attack these types of businesses, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of jobs. We're talking about tens of hundreds of businesses all involved in this supply chain. Anna, kind of piggybacking off of what our colleague Jeff Two-Factor Ranky had to say. Sorry. Dual factor.
Dual factor.
So this production halt is really not coming at a great time for JLR, right? They recently revealed a 49% drop in quarterly profits. Some of that is due to tariffs, weakening sales. You reported earlier this year about how they were essentially taking a year off from selling new cars. Mm-hmm. So, they're in a tough spot already. And to kind of be essentially locked out of their system, not a great time.
No, pressure is kind of the name of the game right now in automotive. And unfortunately, if you look in the not too distant past, which probably feels very far away for JLR right now, in January, the company announced that they had experienced record Q3 revenue. And of course, that was just prior to the onslaught of regulatory changes and market condition changes that we were seeing globally, but also in the U.S. And if you look at the U.S. tariff environment, Land Rover maintains manufacturing in UK, Slovakia, India, China. They have none in North America. That will certainly challenge them from a tariff perspective. Secondly, the current administration's targeting of EVs, generally speaking, whether that's cutting funding for infrastructure or pulling out that tax credit, even if Jaguar EVs weren't eligible for that tax credit, I think analysts are generally agreeing at this point that some of these changes are meant to kneecap the industry as a whole, right? So, if you're meant to live there exclusively, as JLR has said that they will do, and, of course, they have a worldwide presence, but nobody wants the U.S. market to be, like a loss leader for them or anything, not tenable anymore. So, yeah, it's a tough place to be. I think like the other thing you have to look at is because of some of these changes taking place and folks thinking that the tax credit is going to go away and some of these incentives for EV purchases and infrastructure are going to go away, EVs have actually been selling really well right now in the U.S. And so I think either one of those scenarios are bad news for downtime. Anytime's bad for downtime. But like for JLR to have to be severely disrupted right now when they're trying to probably sell as many cars as they possibly can before they might have a massive drought.
Yeah.
It sucks,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's no good time, right? But this is really not a good time.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's a conversation going on right now internally. Just like, really?
Now?
I can't, another thing?
Yeah.
Come on.
I know.
Someone in the universe throw JLR a bone. All right. And I mean, and we didn't even, and they're also kind of dealing with like the branding scandal.
Yeah, they had their own Cracker Barrel style,
Yeah.
like branding mishap where everyone was offended by their.
Yeah, it is amazing. I mean, the amount of people to get upset when you take a big cat out of the logo. And just like, I guess everyone, the general public more cat people than dog people. Just like, don't take the Jaguar out of the logo. How dare you? How dare you?
We got bigger fish to fry than logos. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
America.
that came out a few months ago, right? That was when people were still just like, yeah, let's make a big deal out of this. And then everything else happened and they're like, kind of trivial.
Forgot about it. Yeah.
All right. Well, our next most popular story. Nestlé dismisses CEO after an investigation into a relationship with a subordinate. On Monday, Nestlé fired its CEO. Laurent Fresh went from toll house to doghouse after an internal investigation uncovered an undisclosed relationship with a direct subordinate, which violated the company's code of conduct. Fresh had only been at the helm for a year. And Nestlé's chairman says the company's values and governance are, quote, strong foundations of our company. Fresh has been with the company since 1986. Anna, isn't it a shame that Fresh has unwound his near 40-year success story with this act of so obviously contradicts the company's values and guidelines?
The company's values. It's one of my favorite things.
Yes.
Did you come up with Toll House to Doghouse on your own, or did you use ChatGPT for that?
No, I did that. And actually,
Okay.
I'm going to just let you know how much I dialed it back. Because, talking about how they were in a real crunch and, whether or not his golden parachute was $100,000 or higher. I mean,
well
there
done.
were a lot there. And I mean, you know what?
Yeah.
They own Tombstone too. So whether or not this is the tombstone of his career. But those were all things I took out of this to spare you guys.
Well done. Those are all great, though.
But okay, like bringing it back into Fresh and this, malfeasance. There were, I don't know how deep you kind of went into this story in terms of a couple of things that they uncovered as a part of this investigation, but it is kind of, do you think it's a hubris that you develop kind of bringing yourself up through the company over nearly 40 years that you feel like you're an untouchable? Or how do you allow yourself to kind of fall into this sort of trap, sacrificing your career and the career of the other individual who also left the company?
Well, I can't pretend to know why. I mean, we see this stuff take place all the time where people make these very, very misguided and boneheaded decisions, no matter where they are in the food chain of a company.
Right. And it's because the biggest part is like, you just got to disclose it, right? Like if you let people know, like it's better.
I don't know if that's true if it's a subordinate. They could have different rules around that. And so, and that's one of the things that actually played a role here. So, according to Nestlé's CFO, and this was reported by Reuters, the investigation began because there were some complaints that were filed within the company's HR portal.
Yeah.
Called Speak Up.
Speak Up, yeah.
And they were complaints of favoritism.
Mm-hmm.
And they were happening repeatedly. So they actually had 2 investigations, the second which culminated in his dismissal. But they were investigating this for a while. And Chairman Paul Bulk said that this was a necessary decision and that Nestlé's values and governance are strong foundations of our company. I hope so. I think it sends a message to your staff, and that's a good thing, that no matter where you are on the totem pole, that the rules apply to everyone, right? Mm-hmm. And so so that's one thing. I think the other thing that I took away from this, besides that, which I think it was just a good lesson for other companies as well, but also the importance of having a strong bench. Because if you look at, so Fresh, you said was there since 1986, the market and analysts and shareholders reviewing this as like a huge, huge problem. This was like a catastrophe, the fact that this person was having to step aside. However, they were able to slot in Philippe Navratil, who was a Nespresso division boss. He also had 24 years of experience with Nestlé already. Mm-hmm. He's being described as a strategic and thoughtful leader. And even though this was a major crisis, they were able to really handle it quite well. Everyone's talking about how they believe he's got some good ideas.
Yeah.
And so, maybe this is a good pivot because they've had some strategic issues in the last couple of years as a company. And Fresh was only on board since 2024 in that position. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, they had somebody outside of the industry running the company. He was blamed a lot for some of the missteps that the company had endured over those years. But my point is, overall, I think it raises some good questions about how well equipped are you for a succession that's maybe outside of your control.
Yeah, that might happen tomorrow.
Yeah, because they said, even Nestlé said, like, we had some wheels turning because Fresh was 63. Mm-hmm. So they had already had some things kind of moving, but if it's not an age-related succession, somebody unexpectedly passes away, or there's an issue of malfeasance and they need to be moved out quickly, do you have somebody or a few people that are ready to take the helm in that instance? I think companies need to think about that because it's not always, right now people are fighting so many fires. Some of this stuff gets backburnered. I understand that. Yeah. But it's something to always keep in mind that something could happen anytime.
No, it's risk management. You need to have a plan B. And I mean, sure, you can say that it was because he was 63, but I also think that it was because he was increasingly unpopular. He was very critical of the company's strategy, like saying that the company had lost its way with acquisitions, had become too diversified, had too many product lines in recent years. He was openly critical about the previous leadership. Mm-hmm. And, it seemed like he was causing a little bit more trouble than maybe they wanted. It was also, this talking about long tenure, this was allegedly a marketing executive that was at the company for 20 years, and she left the company as well. And so some of the reports also said that this is not a new thing. And I kind of think this is on the company because he allegedly had another internal affair back in 2017 with the person who is now his wife and he has 2 kids with. And so I don't know. There were a lot of things in this story where I was just like, I don't know. Like
some red flags.
A lot of red flags throughout the entire process where it's just like, okay, I mean, it's great to promote within, but you got to understand the person's legacy and just like, well, maybe we won't do it again. Maybe it won't happen again. And also that he was already unpopular. But Jeff, what were your thoughts on kind of this real hornet's nest that Nestlé's kicked up?
Real sticky situation this guy's got him in here.
That's right.
In looking at that timeline, because I read that Reuters article as well, didn't it feel like they gave him a chance to sort of come clean?
Yeah.
On this, and he continued to double down and not acknowledge this affair and not acknowledge this relationship.
Well, because part of it was also that she was promoted.
So I feel like if you try to take out some of the favoritism elements that were obviously very glaring and right up front, very obvious, as well as the fact that if he would have come clean at some point and maybe admitted to this, potentially there was some room for him to stay. But I think the fact that he just kept lying about it did him no favors.
Yeah.
So I think that was a big part of their decision as well there. I think also when there's favoritism that's so obvious to everyone else, you're also hurting your opportunities to come out of it. Anyway, the other thing that I took away from this too is, like you said, he was unpopular, but Nestlé hasn't been doing great either.
Yeah.
They've been really struggling. Their sales are down. Their stock price is down. They've been struggling with a lot of different things. I think because they try to position themselves as a premium brand on the shelves. We've talked about this right now with prices going up, especially for food. People are looking at those generic and store-based offerings, those store brands, if you will. So Nestlé has some challenges there too. Then you throw in the tariff situation that's increasing their prices even more. They've got a lot of stuff to deal with. And obviously this individual was not dealing with a lot of things very well.
Yep.
So maybe it would have been time to move on anyway. This gave Nestlé an opportunity to move forward more swiftly.
Yeah, well, and like you said, plenty of time, right? Like it took 2 internal investigations, multiple reports on this hotline, a letter from the chairman before the company acted. And according to some reports, that chairman also has a couple of ghosts in his closet as well, or skeletons in his closet.
Man, are you like the TMZ for this?
I guess
Yeah,
so.
the more I read the story, I was just like, oh, because it seems so simple on its face. Like, okay, inappropriate relationship termination, right? But I mean, like, in the last time it happened, instead of getting promoted, the person left back in like 2017 or whatever it is, allegedly. And, maybe this all goes away if, there isn't that promotion, like, I don't know. There were just so many.
He did not help himself here.
I don't think anyone helped themselves here. It was, it looks like at least Nestlé, instead of kind of dragging this out, was just like, all right, full stop. Starting fresh.
Yeah.
Oh, no pun intended. Sorry.
Ooh.
Yeah. That was unintentional. I apologize. That was in poor taste. Wait, does that mean that just comes naturally then?
I think so.
Oh, God.
That's just you as a person.
That's just what's inside. Anyhow, oh, man. Well, here, Doug's here for me. Doug says, hey, fresh is smelling stale.
Whoa.
Doug's on board.
You and Doug
is on board.
In it to win it.
Dynamite drop
like
in.
it. Sorry for the lack of inflection, Doug. I understand it was in all caps. All right. Our next most popular story. John Deere acquisition looks to tackle labor shortage. John Deere is buying Gus Automation, makers of autonomous orchard sprayers. Deere believes the young company, just 7 years old, can be a potential solution to the agricultural labor shortage. The machines apply fungicides, fertilizers, and pesticides to trees, and it only takes one operator to remotely monitor up to 8 of these sprayers simultaneously. This deal comes about 3 years after the two companies actually entered a joint venture together. Early last year, the company raised eyebrows when they debuted their electric Gus at the World Ag Expo, and it looked more like a military vehicle than farm equipment. This vehicle can operate up to 12 hours while spraying at full capacity and has a seek and destroy weed detection system. Gus won't be folded in. It will actually keep its name, employees, branding, and an independent manufacturing plant in Kingsburg, California. These sprayers are already featuring John Deere engines. Anna, while this deal seems to have been inevitable, right, given their existing relationship, do you think that we'll see more big ag companies buying into autonomous tech? I mean, especially that, let's say, since January, more than 1.2 million immigrants have disappeared from the U.S. labor force?
Absolutely. I think that this is a problem right now that's festering and very much in need of a solution. If you look at Gus, so far they've deployed about 250 machines to date. which is nothing to sneeze at, of course, but an acquisition by Deere has a lot of opportunity there to really scale that product. And when you look at the impact of that, take what Gus automated sprayers are best used for, according to them, which is high-value crops like orchards and vineyards.
Yeah.
So they say that these crops generate significantly higher value per acre than crops like grains or oilseeds. So they're talking about like fruit, almonds, olives.
Pistachios. That's the one that jumped out. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Those definitely cost way more.
For sure. I mean, probably like winemakers you're talking about here. So things that are priced higher and generally in growing market segments. But like any ag product, as you mentioned, this shortage of workers, as well as some of the immigration-related concerns that have been specific to 2025. I mean, we had a shortage before, and now we're looking at, these labor-intensive specialty crops on ag sites or farms or big farms, whatever, where folks are afraid to go to work because they don't want to be, dealing with an ice raid or something. So you hear reports of
crops going to rot.
Crops going to rot, of high value crops like fruit being left on the vine because there's no one there to pick them. So if it's impacting the harvest, it's likely impacting, I would think, every step of that process, including application of pesticide or, and obviously fungicides, And obviously a person doesn't have the capabilities to do that. What was the term you used?
Seek and destroy.
Seek and destroy
weeds. I mean,
weed targeting.
It's great. Like, I mean, it like identifies a specific type of chlorophyll in weeds, then can eradicate them. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you have that, the kind of precision that this machine can bring, coupled with the fact that you're seeing these companies desperate for more hands on deck and, dipping into a pool that is getting like shallower and shallower because of the dynamics that are taking place right now. I can see why this would be a popular potential piece of equipment to add to that for some of those companies. And with Deere being able to distribute that, I think is a big deal for Gus.
Well, and not just, we're talking about a slow rollout of autonomous vehicles and autonomous technology. We're talking about like an immediate need now. Jeff, do you think that we're going to see more of this autonomy, not just in agriculture, but everywhere and sooner, given some of these like very sudden gaps in the labor force?
Possibly. I mean, the one hindrance is this is still a $300,000 piece of equipment.
Yeah.
That's before it gets out into the field and it needs maintenance and it needs programming and it needs other support.
Yeah.
So
a subscription service, I'm sure.
All the things.
Yeah.
Well, the subscription service makes sense.
It never does.
Yeah. Anyway, still a very expensive piece of equipment. And that's where you would hope the John Deere factor could come into play in terms of scaling this up and maybe leveraging some of their efficiencies to bring the price down, make it more affordable and available on a larger scale to all of these crops, people growing these types of crops, as well as traditional farms around here that we know about. Because I was looking at this a little bit. This is the 8th different sort of tech-based acquisition that John Deere has made since 2021. So ideally, if you can bring all of this together, and more than half of those are based on autonomous vehicle technology. So if we can bring all of this together and scale it in some way, shape, or form, this could have a lot of very positive impacts on agriculture throughout this country, not just for these high-value crops, but across the board.
Yeah, globally. Because
when you look at, and this was kind of interesting, dug this up from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The last numbers they had were for 2023. 86% of farms are considered small family farms in the U.S., less than $350,000 in total farm income. They produce 17% of the value of products produced. Okay. When you go to the top of that and you look at either non-family or large scale farms, these are folks doing over $1 million. They're representing about 8% of the percentage of total farms, but 48% of the value output.
Yeah.
So if we can adjust this a little bit through some of this technology so that we can help some of these small and mid-sized farmers or crop growers to be more competitive and to do more of these things on their own without selling out, without giving into some of these bigger operations, there's a lot of benefits that can be realized there. It's science. It's not hyperbole to say that if you have fewer animals or fewer larger crop fields or whatever you want to put in one vicinity, it's going to be better for the environment. You've got less stuff being placed on all the plants, less stuff going into the soil. fewer animals in one area, all of this type of stuff for smaller farms, there's environmental benefits there. There's also better output. The quality of the fruits, vegetables, meat, whatever you're raising is going to be better in these more focused environments. So again, if we can get to a point where Deere can bring the price down on some of this technology, make it more readily available, I think we'll see a lot of benefits. Food prices might creep up a little bit if we have fewer of these sort of corporate farm entities, if you will, but we're going to be better off in a lot of other areas too. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if that's pliable. I mean, I don't think John Deere cares who they're selling stuff to. I mean, it's not really their responsibility. But if it does help out some of these smaller operations, I think we'll all benefit from it.
Well, and do you see, I mean, there's an opportunity. I mean, if we can come up with like car sharing and other kind of sharing services, I could understand how like an entire region, you know, maybe goes in to buy one or two of these things to take care of. No?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Farmers aren't going to want to do that.
They're not going to want to share?
No, because they want to take care of their crops on their schedule based on what they've always done. They're not going to
but can't they just put in their
somebody else?
They could just put in their schedule and
but then everybody's going to want to do it at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the opposite. I think there might be an opportunity to actually split the cost and be able to have capabilities, especially when times are immediately tough. I don't know. Like, I think it's time for people to start getting creative. And if they don't have the money, like.
But again, most of that field work is done at the same time because of weather, because of timing, planting schedules, all of that. I think it'd be very difficult. Because then you're basically getting to a corporate farm.
But I mean, it's like people buying a crop duster, right? Like you buy the crop dusting services from a guy who owns the plane. It's the same as the guy who owns the plane. It's just instead it's the guy or service who owns the autonomous vehicle that kind of comes through on a schedule.
Well, Deere already has a rental program. I mean, Deere could manage that entirely.
Oh, true. I'm just saying, like, it's not just that it's $300,000, so these family farms aren't going to be able to get it. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that there are other ways that it might become accessible to them. All right. Our next most popular story this week. Over 600 Memphis FedEx workers laid off as Cummins moves out of state. By October 11th of this year, 611 employees will be laid off by FedEx Supply Chain, one of the biggest employers in Tennessee. Engine manufacturer Cummins is transitioning a portion of its Memphis-based aftermarket parts distribution business to Indianapolis, and they're using a new logistics partner. Cummins needs to find efficiencies, and with their transition underway, layoffs will hit a pair of FedEx distribution centers that are across Memphis. Since 2019, FedEx has distributed rebuild kits, remanufactured engines, and other component parts for Cummins. FedEx hopes to retain a portion of the business in the area, which could find some affected employees in new roles, but for others, it's going to be the standard job placement assistance, relocation aid, and to other facilities, or severance. What's likely worse is that FedEx says these layoffs are not related to the company's Network 2.0 plan for streamlining its package network. More than 200 employees have already been laid off as part of that plan in March. Anna, I mean, this might be a common sight as FedEx consolidates its ground and express operations.
Yeah, so I was looking into Network 2.0 to just see where they were at with this. I mean, it was pretty well reported that FedEx was planning to integrate what were two separate units, the ground and the express networks. Just to back up a little bit, Network 2.0, according to FedEx, is this approach that should mean, in the end, simpler package pickups and deliveries. Mm-hmm. The company says that Network 2.0 will also improve package speed and service by consolidating stations, decreasing handoffs, and optimizing networks. Mm-hmm. And every time I hear the word optimizing, I think job cuts or layoffs. That's usually part and parcel. But this is also about FedEx trying to strengthen its position against key competitors like UPS. That is really kind of like, bested FedEx for quite a few years here. And so I think the translation, though, is that we're looking at a ton of closures and layoffs. The company's CEO in a June earnings call said that they had already closed more than 100 facilities through the first 5 months of the year.
That's brutal.
Yeah. In July, we heard of closures in Omaha, Greensboro, that impacted 500 jobs. All told, the company says that Network 2.0 will prompt closures of 30% of FedEx U.S. package distribution facilities within 2 years. Oof. That is an insane amount of cuts.
1/3.
Yeah, a third. So this situation in Memphis, as like an aside, I don't want to call it like a best case scenario for a worker, but when you consider that they're trying to reallocate some of these positions at least, meanwhile, this strategic bloodbath is taking place in the background of the situation with the Cummins plant. It seems like there's no good place to be if you work for FedEx.
No, I mean, so just 5 hours ago, right? FedEx Supply Chain, which is the subsidiary of FedEx that handles third-party supply chain and logistics, they announced plans that they're going to close a distribution center in Lima, Ohio. I mean, we're talking about 63 jobs there lost there, and this is likely because Procter & Gamble is going to go with a new provider. Now, what I found interesting about these facilities, right, is it seems like these are standalone facilities that all handle all logistics and distribution for that one manufacturer. So, like, with this particular case and with the Cummins one, it is possible that whoever could take over the logistics at this facility in Ohio would likely retain or bring on some of those employees.
Potentially,
but still incredibly disruptive. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, it's always great to think like, hey, well, they're going to need somebody too, but that's not a sure thing.
No.
Like, and Jeff, when we're talking about these numbers, like, so this was not our most popular story on our websites, but across our channels, like on YouTube, across social media, we've had tens of thousands of views, hundreds of comments. And I mean, hey, if you ever want to get in and mix it up on a comment section right now on this video on YouTube, that's where people are going at it from every angle. But I mean, I can understand why this story in particular saw gain traction across every platform, because there are a lot of people, particularly in the US, that are Googling FedEx layoffs and wondering if they're next.
I mean, FedEx workers?
For FedEx workers, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense. If you've got 600 people attached to one account, that's too many. Like, I that kind of blew me away. That seems way high.
I mean, they obviously had to work for it, though. I mean, it was just, they needed 611 workers until Cummins said, like, hey, we're going with somebody else.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
I first of all, I'm not trying to say like they're lying, but we've drawn lines between Cummins leaving and FedEx making these moves. Mm-hmm. To me, there's more to it than just Cummins to lay off 600 people. Yeah. It has to be with a lot of these things that Anna was just talking about with this Network 2.0. Yeah. There's sort of a conglomeration of different issues that are converging here.
Okay, so you think...
I think it's more than just these. It's just more than Procter & Gamble. It's more than Cummins. It's more both those situations as well as competition, as well as some of these things they're doing to streamline. I think this is just going to happen. I think a big driver of this is a lot more e-commerce that's taking place.
Yeah.
While that is an opportunity for a lot of these logistics providers, it also means folks like Amazon are looking at going their own way.
Yeah.
And other folks are doing the same thing, are looking at more third party or mixing it up or being more diverse in who they're working with. I think that's just a nature of the beast, so to speak. I also think it speaks a lot to the fact that, and we've talked about this with our own business, you have to be careful when you start putting too many resources behind one customer. Mm-hmm. Now, FedEx says they have no customer dictates more than 3% of their revenues. Okay. If that's the case, I think you also need to set some sort of goals in terms of the number of individuals allocated to that customer. To lay off 600 people because you lost one customer, that's brutal. And that's also bad business, in my opinion. Also, you got to look at if you're Memphis here and you're this tied to a FedEx, and we've seen this in other geographies as well, get ahead of the game a little bit. This is sort of how things are going with U.S. manufacturing and logistics and supply chains. Be careful. This should be a warning to other communities as well. And Memphis is a big city, I understand that, but if you've ever flown into that airport, FedEx owns it. Mm-hmm. So again, diversification is something we should have learned a long time ago, but it still continues to need to be reinforced.
Well, I guess I don't know what happened with that relationship between Cummins and FedEx, but I mean, it would have been easy for FedEx to just say like, hey, no, this is part of Network 2.0. Like, I mean, this is part of that strategy change, but they kind of went out of their way to say like, no, this is separate from that, which I think makes it like, I mean, if you already have the big
though.
bad, I don't think that's deflection. I think that's like piling on, because it's like already this huge lump of bad, like gonna potentially, you said like 30% of the workforce, right? Like, and then that's on top of that. They could have easily been like, well, no, we already talked about this strategy. This is just part of it. I mean, I don't know. I think it sounds worse, like, I don't know. And I mean, I understand that, but it's like, it's really hard, right? Because you have this huge customer, like you're servicing them, you're doing your best job to continue that business. And just like, sometimes the whale goes away, and like, you do need to insulate yourself by being a little bit more diversified. I don't know what was in the area that they could maybe have somebody else, but like sometimes you just have that whale account and they go away, and like bad things happen.
I know. I understand. That's what I'm saying. To avoid that, try to be a little more diverse and be a little more mindful of how much resources you're dedicating towards one account.
Well, and that was one thing that was, they did talk about how there will be potentially the opportunity to hold on to some of the business, potentially, hold on to some employees or retrain, move people. But I always feel like that's like the really nice to have, and you think it's in your mind, you want to wish it's a lot more people, and it's like 2.
Yeah, it's so easy to be like, maybe we can.
They said,
maybe.
Relocation.
No
funds.
one's gonna check, so we'll just.
Yeah, hey, we can move everybody.
Yeah,
as long as everyone's looking to move. All right, our most popular story this week: Milwaukee tool employee allegedly shipped more than $1 million in tools to himself. So, a Milwaukee tool employee stands accused, now charged, of stealing more than $1 million in tools from his employer. Investigators say the staffer had the tools shipped directly to his home, but never paid for them. The employee may have flown under the radar for a year or more, but then he kind of got greedy, and he shipped 9,000 pounds of tools to his apartment. The company uncovered the plot earlier this year after a logistics company found a sizable shipment peculiar and notified the company. Just like, hey, we're dropping off these 4.5 tons of tools at this apartment like you wanted us to, right? Mm-hmm. Right? From March 2024 to March of this year, the worker allegedly created and deleted 115 orders. Of those orders, 109 shipments valued at $1,086,263.85 were delivered. Milwaukee Tool fired the worker for, quote, abuse of our employee purchase program, which reportedly offers employees discounted tools like up to 50% off of retail. The company, I like this, says it has a zero tolerance policy against theft.
That's good.
That's good. Does anyone ever say anything else? Just like, hey, next time.
Yeah, you get one. Everybody gets one.
You can steal up to $500,000 in value, but no more. Now, what's intriguing is that this investigation remains ongoing. And now that this worker was finally charged yesterday, some speculate that this scheme could really wrap up a lot of area businesses that may have helped this employee move the tools. Anna, is this employee maybe the first domino to fall in a much larger plot?
Well, it could be. And I think it's, for me, though, one of the most interesting points made in this story was that it wasn't Milwaukee Tool who uncovered this scheme taking place. It was this shipping provider. A lapse that I think Milwaukee should take very seriously.
Yes.
Their discounting program that they offer to their employees is very generous, and it's a cool program, and I'm sure people who work there really appreciate it.
Yeah, the people that work there, they're friends of friends, just saying.
Well, I think if you're in the wrong hands, there's certainly a temptation to take those heavily discounted tools and maybe make some quick cash, or, it would be relatively easy if there's no safeguards to resell some of that, right? Mm-hmm. Which means I think that there needs to be some greater scrutiny of this program taking place, especially when you consider now that this theory that there's potentially a local network of resellers. So this really underscores the fact that this was taking place under Milwaukee Tool's nose in their region where they exist as a headquarters of that company. That's terrible.
Yeah.
I think like the other thing that is really disappointing about this is that it creates a burden for even a large company like Milwaukee Tool. And, either they take the loss or their insurance company does. But at the end of the day, it's cost, right? Either they're paying for it or their insurance premiums go up. Does it impact the tool program? Do they no longer think it makes sense to do the discounting, or are they having to increase their costs for consumers, like the price of those tools, or their operating costs getting higher, and then they can't, give people a cost of living raise? I don't know. I mean, I know it's a big company, and I think we should be cautious about assuming that even a big company can absorb stuff like this.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want this stuff to happen, right?
No, yeah.
I mean, it's absurd. And I think like Milwaukee is learning a hard lesson here, not just the bad publicity that's arisen from this, but also the fact that, they got to make sure that this isn't happening again.
Yeah. Well, and I do joke about it, but it was the first time I heard about this employee discount. It was like, well, that is incredible. And, and it is like, you joke about it, but it is like, well, do you know anyone that works there? And like, cause they, it's a friends and family discount, friends and family. Jeff, High Razor says that, greed generally gets everyone in the end. And, this was, I don't know if you saw the update, but did you see who it was? Like, okay, so this 31-year-old employee, Matt Yang, who worked in IT, and he manipulated the ordering system. So you're talking about, a lot of times you're talking about attacks from the outside. What about some of these attacks that might be coming from the inside? And I mean, and it was wild because, at least there was an incredible trail for law enforcement to kind of follow because, well, he kept good notes.
Well, the other thing when you talk about the commenter talking about how greed gets you in the end, it also must make you kind of an idiot because this guy was not real sharp in terms of what their internal investigation, when they find a spreadsheet on, and the guy worked in IT.
Yeah.
He couldn't even be a little bit more.
Did you see what he called the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
I mean, selling list.
And it was all right there in terms of what he was getting it for on the MyConnect versus what he could sell it for, the retail prices.
Yeah.
I mean, it was... Well, come on, man. At least put it in a Google Doc or something so it's not on your laptop at work.
Yeah, your work machine. And he had retail cost, selling price. So he was undercutting Milwaukee Tool, selling likely to their customer base.
Which he could also get lists of. So when you look at the fallout down the line, I'm sure Milwaukee Tool will work with these folks to make it right so they can avoid any type of, prosecution for, accepting stolen goods, basically, is what they were doing here. So hopefully there isn't that type of fallout. The one thing I do want to say is when they look at what this could lead to, did you see the potential sentence this guy could face, which I thought was great?
Oh, I saw it was like 5 or 6 counts. I didn't see what it could.
98 years and 3 months and a fine of up to $260,000. I hope he gets every single minute and every single penny of it.
Yeah.
Because where this frustrates me, Anna was talking about the oversight here and how could Milwaukee Tool not see this stuff? From the outside, I think that is a very justifiable perspective to take. But internally, I think Milwaukee Tool, again, wanting to do these good things for their employees. And when you start putting more safeguards and more checks around things, just like we were talking about dual factor authentication being kind of a pain, then all of a sudden people are like, we have this great, tool program, but it's a pain in the butt to try to actually use to get the tools at the price that we want to get them for. So it's a hard mix. It's a hard thing to sort of walk that line again and sort of balance between making it employee friendly, but also protecting the company because they do deserve to be protected from idiots like this guy.
Well, and I mean, there's got to be some sort of other red flag along the way that's like, hey, did you see that we shipped 4.5 tons of tools to an apartment in Wauwatosa?
Well, that's the thing. If he would have been, and again, to our listener, watcher's comment, like if he wouldn't have been so greedy, he could have gotten away with this probably for a much longer period of time. Yeah. If he started just doing one-offs, so to speak, who knows? Yeah,
it is wild to me, and I don't know. It's you want to be able to trust your people, and then you get somebody like this that ruins it for everybody.
Well, a good friend of mine likes to say, we can't have nice things.
We can't have nice things.
Yes.
No, it's guys ruin it for everybody.
For all of our listeners out there, I just want to share with you that before the episode started, we tried to give Jeff the nickname of Dual Factor Jeff.
Yeah, Dual Factor.
And I feel like he's really leaning into it.
He is. Yeah. No, it's going to take off.
It's going to take.
It's going to take off. Like, I mean, we have seen an uptick in these cybersecurity stories. So, I mean, like at the end of each one, before we wrap up and move on to the next story, we got to have like the 2-factor 2 cents or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Like it could be your grinds getting like what grinds your gears. It could be like, you know what 2 factors 2 cents is about this.
Yeah.
You just can't have these kind of vulnerabilities with spreadsheets and IT. Moving on.
Here with more on that is Dual Factor Jeff.
Yes.
And then you just.
I don't like that.
No, I do like it.
I don't think that's going to work.
I do
the
like
best nicknames are the ones that start out that you hate.
I've been fortunate there, but I don't like this one.
That's fair. That's fair. We got.
How about Jeff 01K? Jeff runs our 401k program.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry, you had me lost on that one. I was
Yeah.
like, what? I said like
Producer Eric gets it.
Okay, yeah, no, it's good.
No one asked producer Eric. There's a reason he's behind the camera.
Well,
Eric.
now that we've all had a minute to reset and we're going to put a pin in our abilities to nickname our friends, we have another episode sponsor, a new one this week, and this one's Armanino. This episode is brought to you by Armanino. Does your organization have a plan to manage today's and tomorrow's supply chain challenges caused by recent tariffs? This new guide from Armanino, Conquer Tariffs with Confidence, a guide for business leaders, explains the current tariff environment, addresses common misconceptions, and offers strategies to mitigate risk in uncertain economic times. Download it right now. There's a link in the body copy, and there is a link for Doug in the live chat. Oh, right, in case you missed it. Story's not as popular on our website, but might make a big impact on the industry going forward. Anna, what do you have for us this week?
I selected a story titled Delta Agrees to Pay $79 million to settle lawsuit after Jetliner dumped fuel on schools. And the reason I picked that is because I don't remember this taking place. I don't think I heard about this story when it actually happened.
Yeah.
And this is the results of a lawsuit for when Delta apparently in 2020, and there was a lot going on in 2020, so fair.
I mean, there's a lot going in 2020. There's a lot going on every day of every week of this year. And so it's like, whoa, 5 years ago, it was a simpler time.
It was a simpler time, but get this. So what happened was a Delta jet had departed from Los Angeles and it was headed to Shanghai when it needed to turn around because of a mechanical problem, and it was loaded with fuel. Mm-hmm. And apparently there's an issue with the weight of the plane and landing, that they didn't want to land with that much fuel.
Yeah.
Because they had something like
15,000 gallons.
15,000 gallons of extra fuel. And so
well, let's go.
Who misjudged that one?
It's going to Shanghai. Like it. Well, I mean, it was right after it took off.
Oh yeah, they took off.
They took off.
They were going to Shanghai. Realized they had to turn around, but before they could land again at LAX, they decided that it was not safe to land with that much fuel. So instead of like cheating out over the ocean, they dumped 15,000 gallons of fuel on a community, Cudahy, it's called. Mm-hmm. There was a bunch of school kids out at recess or something.
Yeah.
Hit the kids with fuel.
In the schoolyard, yep.
Yeah. So there was like 60 kids, teachers examined for minor skin and lung irritations. Nobody required hospitalization, but everyone was very mad about it.
Luckily, no one was smoking.
Weirdly, everyone was like, you should not have done that.
Yeah.
And so some homeowners filed a class action suit. Park Avenue Elementary School filed a lawsuit against the airline. That's what this is pertaining to. They said that there was overwhelming fumes, that the fuel was dripping down like rain on these children. The issue was that for Delta, the pilots decided that that the plane would be too overweight. And the reason that they don't want to land an overweight plane is because it can damage the plane. And so it can be expensive for the airline to fix, A. And B, if it does land overweight, they're required to inspect the plane before they can put it back into service. So it's out of service. So it was really actually a cost thing when it came down to it as to why they made this choice. But Delta decided to settle anyway. But They settled, and in the court documents it says they agreed to the settlement without any admission of liability to avoid the legal expenses of a trial and, quote, to eliminate the distraction and other burdens this litigation has caused to Delta's business. And reading that quote made me so angry because it just sounded like they were annoyed that they were not allowed to dump fuel on school children without any repercussions whatsoever.
And all the negative press it created.
Why would you feel the need to put that in your statement?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is wrong with people?
Can we just be over it already?
I know. Like, can we move on from this ever?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry.
It was in 2020. Get on with your life.
So like a plane being out of commission for a hot minute and maybe needing a couple of repairs. I mean, hopefully, I guess those would have been more than $80 million in damages to the company the other way. Because, right, this was just a lawsuit from the school?
I think it was
other lawsuits.
I don't know. I don't know if the class action suit has been settled yet. I think this was just the one that the school had filed. But to me, just the whole thing was just a very frustrating read. And when you consider too that a flight from LAX to Shanghai is all ocean, it's like entirely ocean. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
Why they felt they had to dump this fuel on a community is weird.
It is amazing what you could do for your brand with just I'm sorry. You know, like without admitting any guilt. This is a non-guilt sorry. It's a very gray apology.
Well, again, we all know why when people issue these statements saying we settled, we're not, admitting to being at blame or admitting to any guilt. We know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Stop there.
Yeah.
Don't go further because otherwise Anna gets angry and then,
More than Anna's.
We have to worry about
Jeff, you can't be raining fuel on kids.
You guys were angry too, right? I mean, I'm not the only one.
Yes.
That's ridiculous.
So it was, they had just taken off for a 13-hour flight. Their maximum landing weight was over by 160,000 pounds. So they rained 160,000 pounds of fuel on a community and kids. Like it is okay to admit, like to say my bad. It's okay, maybe it's not okay financially, but I mean, like,
or legally, I don't know what it does.
Yeah,
to Jeff's point, it could be like that puts them on the hook for something worse. But they didn't have to be like all huffy about it, like it was annoying to them that this.
Right.
I mean, I guess that's the other way. Just like, well, if we can't say we're sorry, might as well be real jerks about it.
You know what? This was a huge distraction for our business.
The parents calling us every day about how their kids have skin and respiratory problems.
Oh, what a burden for Delta Airlines.
Yeah, do you know how understaffed we already are? I've just lost my status. Jeff, did you get a chance to? I understand you already kind of chimed in. They're kind of behind a legal 8-ball here where they can't say sorry. But I mean, my God, don't just say like, enough. Jeez.
Well, just say something like, hey, we've changed our SOPs to make sure we won't be dumping however many gallons. What was it?
160,000.
Yeah, we're not going to dump 160,000 gallons of fuel on people anymore.
Yeah.
We're gonna do our best to avoid that.
I think that's fair. You know what? We looked at our training manual.
We can do better.
Yeah, we've done what is it? Where they say they're going to do additional training or whatever.
Remediation.
We're gonna let all our pilots know, hey, stop it.
No kids, at least.
Yeah, no kids.
Or kids, at least.
Maybe some sort of like warning. How is there not I get it. It's like an emergency situation, but like I feel like there's got to be a way to communicate. Like, hey, like maybe everyone in the zip code should get inside for a hot minute. I don't know. Wishful thinking. I mean, We've got the technology these days. All right, in case you missed it this week, was a story about how GE Aerospace is building a hybrid turbogenerator that can boost electric aircraft range. So GE Aerospace and Beta Technologies have entered into this new strategic partnership to develop a hybrid electric turbogenerator for advanced air mobility applications. So we're talking about VTOL, or vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. I thought perhaps, maybe sometimes you just got to make it like real clickbaity, just straight up partnership, make flying car go farther. Maybe then people would be like, oh, yeah, cool. Well, this hybrid solution is going to tap into existing infrastructure capabilities. They're going to use GE's CT7 and T700 engines, and it's expected to bring significant enhancements. We're talking about more range, more payload, better speed performance compared to any of the other aircraft that are in this segment. GE is also making a big $300 million investment in Beta, giving it the right to also potentially have a director on Beta's board. I chose this story just because, we talk a lot about the failings of the aviation industry, obviously, in aerospace, but also what it's going to look like moving forward. I do not necessarily think that the flying car is going to be a real slam dunk economically, but I do think VTOL technology has real applications in terms of being able to take off and land anywhere and create some real logistical problems, particularly in urban environments. So I thought this was a really cool story. This is, what we see a lot of, like big company, partners with startup, give startup a ton of money. And this is, sort of that middle chapter right before the story ends with big company eats little company joins big company. And I think that we will see that as long as things continue to go well. Plus, I think that, it's cool to adapt these existing engines. We're not talking about necessarily restarting from scratch, bringing new capabilities to existing engines and increasing range, payload, and other things that are vital to the success of VTOLs. And I don't know if you had a chance to check out this story, but what'd you think?
Yeah, I did. And I also agree that it's cool because I'm not always like super excited about new aviation technology.
Yeah.
I know we've discussed that in the past. I think we have like a lot of irons in the fire right now.
Yes.
And I'm especially not excited about going to space. But the VTOLs and the STOLs, which are another variation of this, is just a short takeoff and landing.
Yeah.
The applications are really vast for this stuff. I mean, if you consider medical emergencies, search and rescue, military, like you said, urban environments where as cities get more dense and congested, there is a need for, being on location and not having a ton of space to do so. So I'm happy to see this develop all day long and see where it goes.
Like an STOL, those are more like the drones you got to throw or that need like a real short runway to get off the ground, right? Or like the craft like that?
Yeah, they're like less helicopter-y, but like actual little planes that can, you're on a tiny little airstrip and you can get out without a runway.
No, that's okay. That's what I was thinking because, the VTOL is where, they have the propellers, then it flips up and then it takes off and then it transitions and goes. Highly technological description there.
Yeah. And then it goes.
And then
it goes.
Hopefully
up.
Partnership, make flying car go farther.
That's right. Jeff, your thoughts on this story and GE partnering with, or GE Aerospace, partnering with Beta?
No, all the things you guys said, I would agree 100% with. I think the big thing here is one of the reasons I think these stories sometimes don't generate the interest or engagement that we would hope they would is because, like Anna alluded to, there's a lot going on right now, especially with VTOLs and electric aircraft. I'm glad you brought this story up, though, because there is a ton of takeaway here in terms of what it might lead to, what things this thing might lead to. So I think it's important to continue the dialogue and conversation and bring these things to light.
Well, and I think, we had a hot minute where everyone was like, with trying to make the flying car a reality. And I think we saw a couple of prototypes get off the ground and it's just like, that's a long ways away. But, I think the logical next step is the VTOL that could enable it, make it a little more realistic. I'm not saying it is, but you never know.
Well, it'll be interesting. I still am not so confident that this will become a commercial solution.
Yeah.
But all the things that Anna mentioned with medical and military.
It'll be commercial for an elite class.
There you go.
We'll see. I think of it as, when you see it, it's going to come down. Like you think of those regional jets, right? Right now they're using like those crazy dual prop planes from like the 60s and 70s where we're taking off from Madison and landing in Cincinnati. I see that entire fleet and there's got to be a solution, right? There's got to be whatever's coming next. And I do think a VTOL could be on that roadmap. I don't know.
I guess I got more excited about the electric part of this
Yeah.
than maybe the VTOL part of it. But
That's fair.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. What was your in case you missed it this week?
Oh, boy. I'm hesitant to bring up a cybersecurity thing, but there's also
Dual
artificial
factor jet.
intelligence stuff here. So the article I picked, we actually this one was posted not too long ago. Talks about shadow AI shining a light on new concerns. So basically, what we're seeing now is a lot of people implementing artificial intelligence platforms, maybe without telling your boss about it, and that can create some problems. We've talked in the past about we can't just rely on AI to solve all these problems by saying, "Hey, you know what we're going to do? Put it in ChatGPT and just see what happens." That isn't always the most responsible action to take.
No, but a lot of people are.
There is a trend.
A lot of people are.
So looking at the article here, it says, although they can be beneficial to working professionals, unauthorized AI tools, also known as shadow AI, create new risks for sensitive data exposure. Ooh. So according to Manage Engine, they did a study, and they said that shadow AI is rampant across the manufacturing sector. 79% of manufacturing employees said they know coworkers who are using unapproved AI tools. What's more, without obtaining company approval, employees are inputting sensitive corporate information into these tools. The vast majority of employees, 71%, input personal tasks and documents. Another 46% share company details, and 44% enter client details.
So are we talking about like internal reports that they're dropping into ChatGPT and saying, summarize this?
We don't know the exact, but essentially it is a lot of these large language models that are creating the problems because people think it's personal and private to them because it's linked to maybe their Google account or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vulnerabilities associated with that people just aren't making others aware of. And it's creating a lot of problems and because these AI tools are also susceptible to getting hacked.
Yeah.
Prime example of this, 2023, Samsung. Mm-hmm. That's how they got hacked into. People were using ChatGPT or another large language model. Hackers got into that platform and then got back into Samsung that way. There's also a lot of vulnerabilities that have been linked directly to OpenAI, who is the creators of ChatGPT, as well as vulnerabilities just within that platform itself. In other words, people being able to hack in and see what you were searching for.
Yeah.
We've had internal conversations about the best ways to use this. And again, it's making sure we're all on the same page, but also that we're not inputting stuff and thinking it's safe and secure because it may not always be. So just being careful with how you're using these AI tools. That was a pretty interesting conversation here that it brings up a lot of other different things in terms of how to properly use AI, how to use these large language models in the right way, but not just going crazy and maybe keeping other people in the loop as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I think this plays into the story we covered regarding our study last week about how there's not a lot of trust out there in the market in the information provided by AI, but maybe we should look at that under a new lens where, hey, maybe you shouldn't trust AI, period, particularly with sensitive information. I mean, is this what happened at Jaguar Land Rover? They were just, they threw in a couple of documents and they're like, how are we going to sell these new EVs anyways? And then ChatGPT gave them the strategy and they said, wait 1 year, stop doing everything.
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I think it's fair to speculate.
I think what could have been concerning is if they threw in like, here's our sales model, here's our sales. How is this going to forecast and model out for the next 5 years?
Yeah.
That could be dangerous.
I mean, but I bet a lot of people are doing that.
A lot of people are using it for forecasting.
There are checks and balances. And again, that comes with having everybody knowing what you're doing so that we can incorporate that into the whole structure of either your operating technology or your internal IT departments so they can properly safeguard it.
Well, and I mean, we've definitely seen an uptick in interest from our readers, viewers, and listeners. We're working on AI in manufacturing series. We're working on AI in distribution series. Right now, everyone wants to know how AI is being used to help their business. And I mean, this has got to be something that has to be on people's radar, right? Just like, hey, while we're all excited about it, let's take it easy in terms of what we're putting in the engine. Yeah,
I think this certainly reflects the state of AI in many of these markets right now, which is companies are putting out a directive of like, this is something we need to use and we need to optimize our business and become more efficient and figure out how AI can help us do that. But they're very little structure around how that is to play out.
Yeah, because they don't know what they don't know.
Right. So probably there's a lot of people in these organizations that are thinking like, well, if anything does hit, it's all upside.
Yeah.
I'm just going to try some things. And maybe I'll be the hero if I figure out like a way to optimize some process or,
Read those reports, check out these spreadsheets, find inconsistencies or find things that are duplicate. We talk about using AI to find efficiencies within a business, and I imagine that it does that with sensitive information.
I'm sure it does.
Jeff, man, how do you, some of these
it's spookier than this. This is pretty
that's good. Well,
digestible.
Okay.
Put it that way.
No, that's good. That's good. We'll just start here, and then tomorrow or next week it'll be scarier. For a scarier podcast. We'll see you next week. All right, well, let's do our final thoughts before we get out of here. Anna, what's your final thought?
So it was back to school week for my kids, which is always exciting. And this back to school first day was the most flawless, easiest ever day. Mm-hmm. The kids were really excited to go. There was no drama whatsoever. They came home happy. Which I'm happy about as well, but I also am starting to feel a little nervous about is this a bad omen?
Yeah.
About if it started out a little too easy, what's to come?
Yeah.
And then in a couple weeks, are they going to bring home some weird hybrid COVID lice or something?
Yeah. That's coming. That's just, it's like the start of school. There's the anxiety and all that, the expense, both emotional and financial. And then, about a week to two later, you get the super bug that they've all cooked up for 2 weeks.
Right.
While they're, sneezing on each other. And then you're just and then we're out for a week or two.
Right. There's another shoe.
Oh, yeah.
It's hanging over me.
Yeah.
I just can't enjoy it. It's just.
I would go the other way on this. Okay. After maybe, been through similar situations, I think with the age of your kids, you're in this kind of nice 3 to 4 year window.
The salad days. Yeah.
Where they're manageable, they don't, they're better independent, but still manageable. Yeah. Once they start getting to 4th, 5th grade, watch out.
Ooh. I have a 5th grader, Jeff.
Holy cow, she's that.
Yeah.
I was thinking about the twins. Oh, wow. All right, maybe you're not. You're in trouble.
You're
Never mind.
in real trouble. Well,
my bad.
At least they're old enough to understand the value of hand washing.
That's true. Yep, they don't stick their hands in their mouth.
Hygiene's better.
Like they used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. I didn't realize she was in 5th grade.
I know.
No, it goes fast. And this is that time of year where everyone's posting, posting photos of their kids with sensitive information, that's just the regular comment on it, just where does the time go? My God! And it's I send pictures to family, and they're like, oh, they're growing up so fast. I'm like, well, visit, come and say hi. So my final thought this week. So I did a bit of problem solving yesterday, and I wanted to see how you guys felt about it. So we were doing a celebration at home, and I was making tacos for the celebration. While I was doing the tacos, I used this knife, and I used the knife to cut open the meat sleeve, if you will, to jump in the ground beef, and then for whatever reason, because I didn't want to grab a spoon, there were a couple of black beans at the bottom of the can, so I just used the spoon or the knife to just scrape the 5 black beans out. And as I'm cooking them, I go to use the knife again, and I realize that the tip of the knife has broken off. And I don't know if it was now. I don't know when it was. It's an old knife. I was unsure. So instead of throwing out the beans and the meat, which I really thought I was going to have to do, I took them and I put them into microwave-safe glasses or dishes, put them in the microwave and nuked them, because I'm like, well, if there's metal in there, we'll see. And I was just kind of curious what you guys thought of that as a solution. And because I kept asking people, and they're like, maybe? I don't know, because anytime there's even a small piece of metal, it's going to find it. But also if I get a tummy ache coming up, it's maybe because I got a tip of a knife in there. But I felt pretty good that the microwave would have caught it in a tiny bowl.
And started a fire?
Yeah, small fire. I would have had to, in this solution, I definitely replaced my microwave. But in that moment, I was willing to buy a new microwave to salvage this pound of ground beef and 2 cans of beans.
It was just the tip of the knife, wasn't it was a very small piece?
Yeah.
I'm not sure the microwave was helping you out there.
You ate it, I think.
Maybe. I made sure everyone chewed really well. I mean, it was also an old
Yeah,
knife, so it was
thanks,
very likely. I think, we'll eat a lot of bread to just make sure.
I think, giving people a heads up was probably enough.
Yeah. But I don't
You guys are psychotic. I would have thrown all that stuff away.
Yeah.
Knife tip?
Maybe. You
It was
don't know.
a small tip. Yeah, we're not really
don't know.
certain. I felt really good after microwaving it, though, because it was extra cooked. Everything was well done. Anyway, so just I guess my final thought is to double check those utensils, especially if they're hand-me-downs from multiple generations of your family, to see if they're falling apart and you're feeding them to your children. Jeff, what's your final thought this week?
It has been also kind of a great bubble that I've been living in as well. Nothing too dramatic. The kids are away at school, and my wife and I are readjusting to that. So I'm just, I don't think I have anything real crazy to share right now.
Just, you know what? When you get the chance, take it easy.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
That is not the week I've had.
Jeff, you could, come over tonight. Help me pack lunches.
I'll bring my butterfly cookie cutter that I always use for the sandwiches.
Oh, I have a star and then a pumpkin for fall that I'm excited to use when the time
Look
is
at
right.
you, fun mom.
Oh, wait,
I know.
these sandwich cutters?
Yeah.
I just learned about this. We've got a dinosaur one, and I'm like, why would we use that? Do they eat the crust also? Or do you just sacrifice?
That was always my breakfast.
Oh, okay. I was like, so I just throw the rest of the sandwich away?
Sometimes if they're helping you, sometimes you can get them to eat it at that time.
Oh, okay. Look at this fun part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
Doug says, should have dragged a magnet through the mix. I don't know. I would need a higher power magnet. I don't know.
I mean, that's
A meat magnet? You have one of those?
Yeah, I need a meat magnet. Oh, you know what?
Anna just invented something.
I could rebrand. So we had those magnets that got recalled because kids were eating those, and then they were getting stuck in their stomach. I guess I could have thrown those in and sort of stirred them in and just really made sure to count before I did that. Just pluck them out individually. I mean, you know what? We're just working through it. Thank you, Doug. I always appreciate the insight. All right. Before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Jeff, David, or Anna at in.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You could also subscribe to our daily newsletter. Make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first, and subscribe to us on YouTube at IN Magazine, where you can always give us a good thumbs up, and that really helps us out a lot. We appreciate it. All right, for Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells, I'm David Manti. This is the Today in Manufacturing podcast, and we will see you next week.